Okay, hi, Brian.
Hey, I thought I was supposed to join the Google Meet. So
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. It's okay. We had the call on Teams. So yeah, we're actually
Hi,
waiting
Brian.
for you. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining, and welcome everybody to this session, to the Microsoft Imagine Cup launch virtual event. Thank you so much for coming. So I'll briefly give an introduction. So we have two guests on the call with us. I'll probably introduce myself better after the guests speak to us. So maybe before we have the guest talk, if you're on the call and you don't know anything about Imagine Cup, don't worry, you are in the right place. If you're on the call and you've never participated in Imagine Cup, feel free to ask as many questions as you want, because this is the right place for you to be. If you've always wanted to participate in Imagine Cup, but you've never actually known where to start, make sure by the end of this call, you at least have an idea of where you're going to start. And again, if you're on the call and you're from high school, we try to get an audience from high school as well, because we have something in store for them as well, the Imagine Cup Junior. So if you're here and maybe you're from high school, feel free. You're also in the right place. So I'll briefly introduce the guests that we have. We have Brent Clark on the call, who is a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be the guest speaker. And he's actually one of the mentors from Microsoft for the Imagine Cup teams. So in Imagine Cup, we have the different rounds, and for the regional finals and the World Championships, Microsoft gives each team a mentor. So Brent Clark has been a mentor for some time now, and he's going to share more about that in the next 2 minutes. We also have a representative from Team Vhysio. They were among the 2020 EMEA regional finalists this year in Imagine Cup. So we are really privileged to have Ben Harris representing Team Vhysio on the call, and he's also going to have some time to share with us. So I'd wish to stop at that point and welcome Brent Clark, who's going to introduce us to the concept of Imagine Cup. Brian, over to you.
Thank you, Julia. So let me share my screen. I have a little presentation, but it's mostly going to be me talking. And over Teams, share my screen. Can you all hear me okay? Excellent. And now you should be able to see my screen too?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much, Julia, for having me. And it's awesome to see Ben again from Team Vhysio. So I can't wait to hear what Ben has to share with everybody here. As Julia mentioned, I am Brent Clark. I am a cloud advocate at Microsoft. I've been here for a little over 3 years now. Prior to that, I was working at Disney, and I've just been a professional developer for a little over 10 years. Did a little bit I started out with C#.net professionally, and then worked my way to web development using JavaScript and Node.js and that kind of stuff. And I've kind of just been sitting in that area for a little while now, working and focusing on those technologies. I also, just quick little thing here that I think I want to make aware for people, especially Julia, since you mentioned there's people that are students in high school, students in college. You may be familiar with Twitch and live streaming in general and that kind of stuff. And you may be aware that there's gaming on there. But one thing I want to share with people is that there are more and more people that are streaming programming related stuff that are showing you what it's like to learn something live on stream and stumble and fail and work through the problems and fix them and finally get that rewarding feeling of fixing a bug or something like that. And so I just want to encourage people to check that out in case you haven't already, if you weren't aware. There's also live streaming on YouTube. The difference I see in that is that it's one thing to watch a tutorial or a video on YouTube or on a website that has courses that step you from A to B, like start to finish, of creating like an app or something like that. It's a little bit different to be able to interact with somebody that's going through something like that and seeing what the troubleshooting steps might be, because it doesn't always go perfectly when you follow a course on YouTube or on some website. It doesn't always go as smoothly as they make it out to be in that course, right? So that's why I just want to mention that. I do some live streaming on Twitch. And then, as Julia mentioned, I have been mentoring teams for the Imagine Cup for a couple years now. I think this past one was just my second time. I think second time I helped out with the Imagine Cup. And not bragging or anything, but I don't know what it is. But so far, 2 years in a row, I have mentored the winning teams of the overall Imagine Cup competition. So I think it's really interesting competition. I think it's really fun for people to get involved with, and there's a lot of opportunity there. Speaking of which, let's jump into Imagine Cup. I should have I'm a professional presenter, and I didn't even remember to go to the next slide. So this is the slide where you can find me on Twitter and Twitch if you want. But enough about me. Let's talk about Imagine Cup. So Imagine Cup, their kind of thing that you may see in some of the promotional videos is students from the teams. I'm sure Ben and Julia had to, if I recall correctly, you have to record that yourselves saying, "Dream it, build it, live it." And it's kind of the little catchphrase kind of thing that they do, but it really is about it. The idea is you dream up a project that you feel is going to be impactful in your community, whether it's local, your country, your continent, around the world, whatever it may be that you want to help out with, and use technology to solve an important problem to you all. You dream it up, you go and build it, and then you live it. Like you learn, you see that thing through, that project through, that lifetime, the life cycle of it, to make sure it continues to have that positive impact that it was intended to have from the start. And so it's a global competition. Students work together from all over the world, from universities all over the world. There are usually regional competitions where the student teams sign up for their region, and then the competition is kind of, well, I'll step into that in a minute in the history of it, but the projects are generally themed around technology solving the world's toughest problems. I'm sure this year we're going to see quite a bit around the current state of things, right, with COVID-19, and how we can use technology to help solve problems with that, as we're seeing things like that happening already. So that's kind of the theming around it usually. And in terms of the history of it, Julia mentioned that, gave me a couple things, some little talking points. So thank you, Julia, for that direction. The history of it, I don't know a lot about the history of it, but what I looked up is it started in 2003, and then it grew. So it's been going for 17 years now, which is, I had no idea. So that was amazing to see. And I've only been a part of it for the past 2 years. And it grew to over 358,000 competitors. So I'm assuming that means like applicants that applied to be part of the competition. And that was back in 2011 it reached that. So I don't know what the current numbers are as of like the more recent Imagine Cup competitions. But if you can imagine, in 2011, it was up to 358,000 plus, and from 183 different countries, it's probably even higher now. So it's a pretty large competition, but don't let that intimidate you. I'm not saying that to kind of, for people that are maybe possibly thinking about being part of it and joining in on the competition. I don't want that to intimidate you, because you still can, you should still apply, you should still try, and know that it's an amazing feeling to, win your regionals, move on, and that kind of stuff. And the projects that you think of are important too. So whether you make it into the competition or not, it's really important that you follow those dreams that you have to have the impact that you want to have on your communities. So usually it is an in-person event, but last year, as I'm sure this year, last competition, which was earlier this year, as you can imagine, because of the current state of things with COVID-19, we went to all virtual. But in any case, even with it being virtual, the typical structure of the competition is 3 rounds, right? So you give a 1-minute pitch to judges, where you try to, it's kind of that quote unquote elevator pitch where you need to try and not really sell, but you sell the idea and the importance of your project to the judges. And the judges are folks from all different backgrounds. So you get a variety of people that have specializations in different areas. So they'll be, it's really cool to get a chance to interact and present to people with the backgrounds that they have. And yeah, so that's all I'll say about that. And then from there, the next round of that is you take about, I think it's like a 5 to 10 minute hands-on demo. Some of these things have changed a little bit over time, and I think they may be changing things going into the next Imagine Cup competition. So I'm just sharing kind of what it's typically been from my experience as being part of it. through a mentor format. So it's the next round after that is about 5 to 10 minutes of a hands-on demo with the judges where you can actually show them either a video of your project that you put together, or you can actually show, maybe if it's something that you can bring with you, you can show them directly like how the thing works, that kind of stuff. And then the last round is the judges will like ask all the teams all at once kind of thing, like certain questions, or like point out to certain teams targeted questions that they have to find out more about their project that maybe they didn't get from the previous 2 rounds. And then after that, the judges kind of go into deliberation, and then they pick their top 3 choices, usually 2 from each region. And again, don't quote me on this because I think they might be changing the format a little bit around. But typically, like in each region, they would pick 2 teams, 2 of the top teams to move on to the the World Championship Finals. And then the World Championship Finals, they pick top 3. And the prizes for that are usually Azure credits, if I recall correctly, and potentially a cash prize, I think, too. And then like if you win the World Championship, on top of all that, you get a one-on-one with Satya Nadella, the Microsoft CEO, which I think is an amazing opportunity. But again, I don't want to harp on all that. What I really want to emphasize here, and those that have had me as mentors, both Julia and Ben, know that like the key here is the project that you're working on, feeling passionate about that, and just being in the Imagine Cup. Like whether you make it into the competition for your regional, if you win your regional, if you win all the way to the World Championship, the key is it's just icing on the cake, in my opinion. Like you all come up with great ideas, do amazing work that's really impactful, and a competition is not going to stop you from doing that work and having that impact that you want to have. So hopefully you still feel, well, I guess what I'm saying there is that even though it's a competition, it's fun to compete and, see how your project measures up against your peers' projects and that kind of thing. Don't let that kind of sway you to not pursue that dream of working on this project beyond this. So my experience as Imagine Cup mentor, as I kind of mentioned before, my participation in it has been a mentor to coach the teams on their pitches and their presentation skills. I'm hearing some feedback right now. Okay, everybody's off mute. To coach people on their presentation skills. So how to speak, how to maybe change the cadence of your voice and like emphasize certain words, because what ends up happening, one of the hardest things to do as a presenter, typically, especially when it comes to technology, is we want to just share everything. We want to share like every line of code and talk about every line of code and just like make sure we get all the details in so that people that we're presenting to understand the project to its fullest extent. And that's not possible when you have 1 minute to do that, right? So what I try to help do as a mentor is draw out the important pieces to get your message across to your audience. And in this case, your audience is a panel of judges. And so that's kind of been my role in helping coach and mentor the teams, along with other things. Like if you just need to find out information, connecting you with the Imagine Cup, the guy that kind of runs it all, Pablo Veramendi. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Pablo runs the whole thing. He's a great guy, does a great job with it, and is super helpful. I usually will help you connect with him or just find out information via him and the team that works on that kind of stuff. But yeah, so my focus area is mentoring, and I should be going through slides. You think I would, as a professional presenter, I would be doing better, but I'm still waking up, I guess, over here. So yes, mentoring. That's kind of what my role was. And it really, I guess on a personal note, it's been like, and I know it's kind of maybe a little cliche to say this, but it's been an honor to have the opportunity to do this, because everyone, even the teams that I haven't worked with one-on-one, it's just like greatly inspiring to see the passion around the projects, the good that you all as students want to have, the good that you all want to do for your local areas, for your countries, the world around, and it just gets me kind of energized to do better and try and help in my own way based on the skills that I have, right? So I guess just shout out to Julia and Team Wild Eye, Team Vhysio, and some of the other teams that I worked with for, just being great to work with and doing great work on their projects, right? It really has been impactful on me, and it has me always looking forward to that time of year when we start up the Imagine Cup competition again, and then I get involved in mentoring and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's an amazing, you could think of it as like almost like a hackathon, but you get a chance to work on the project ahead of time, and you really are focused on presenting your project in the best possible way. And yeah, I think it's kind of fun. It's just a different format of a hackathon. In terms of the impact the Imagine Cup has on student lives, I can't really speak to that. I think more so the teams that have been through it, and I imagine Ben is going to talk about this a little bit when he comes on here and talks with you all. But in my opinion, as somebody that's never, like, I personally have never done anything as amazing as these teams have done that have worked and done projects for the Imagine Cup. And what I think in terms of what I feel would be the impact there, the opportunities that it presents, is a couple of things. One, I think it provides you a chance as a student, discoverability to the workforce, right? If you can put this, just being part of the competition, if you make it in your region, if you make it beyond your region, putting that on your resume is a great thing to have. That becomes a talking point with people that interview you, and they want to know more about what you did with Imagine Cup, because Imagine Cup is really widely known. I mean, Microsoft is a company that's widely known, and then the competition that it's run by Microsoft, when you go to potential employers and you have that on your resume, your CV, and you say, I was in Imagine Cup, they're going to be like, whoa, what's this about? And you get a chance to kind of connect with them, and it'll help you in your interviewing, I think, because you could just talk about your experience with that and the project you worked on and the project you might still be doing, even though you're going and applying for jobs in that case. The other thing is, and I think this is important as developers, engineers, programmers, however you want to describe yourself, the competition, the impact it has on you is it helps also with your ability to present. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, like, I'm not, the only reason why I feel more comfortable nowadays presenting in front of a group of people is because I've had a lot of practice. I've done it. I still get nerves like crazy. I still get butterflies in my stomach, that kind of thing. And I don't really, to be honest with you, preparing for it, I don't really enjoy it. But then once I'm into the presentation and afterwards, it feels great. But the point I'm getting there is it gives you a lot of practice, and on a little bit more of a high stakes kind of situation, a little bit, because it's a competition. It's not just a talk at a conference or something like that, or a user group or a community group like this. And so it gives you the opportunity to just practice your presentation skills and build on those, and how to pitch your ideas. So maybe you're interested in taking this project and turning it into a startup, a business, right? Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, right? This competition will help you get that practice. And depending on how far you make it, maybe it'll help kind of jumpstart you into creating that startup you've wanted to create based on this project that you've built with your team. So, yeah, so it's kind of, in my mind, some of the format with the Imagine Cup, the way the competition works, it's not very unlike pitching to a group of investors that you're speaking with to try and get them to invest in your startup that you're trying to build up as an entrepreneur. So I think those are the three things: discoverability in terms of the impact that competition has on you as a student, the potential opportunities it creates. I think it makes you more discoverable because your name, your team is part of a very well-known, world-known competition, right? And so you have that kind of on your resume, which will help you be more, appealing and give you more talking points with potential employers when you're interviewing. And then the other aspect I thought in terms of impact that it has is, your practice in presenting and your presentation skills overall, right? How well you can build up those skills and get your ideas across to your audience. And with that, I'll leave it to maybe any questions, Julia, if we have time to do that. If people want to ask questions in the chat or something, I'm happy to stick around for a little while and answer those throughout the session today. But that's about it. That's all that I have that I wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Brent, for that amazing presentation on the Imagine Cup. I'm sure we all have an understanding of how Imagine Cup works. And if you have any questions, so far I've not seen any question on the chat, on the meeting chat. But in case you have any questions, kindly just feel free to type in the questions you have, because I think we have some time before we conclude the session, so we can respond to as many questions as possible. But in case we have questions that we might not be able to respond to them during this call, we have activities, like the community has activities, so we release blogs after every 2 weeks, and we're going to respond to the questions that might arise after this session in the blogs. But for these specific questions, kindly ask Brian as many questions as you may have. And maybe for now, because we don't have any questions, okay, because we don't have any questions, I think I would invite Ben Harris. He also has a presentation, so we'd like to hear. So we've heard from a mentor in the Imagine Cup. Now I think we would hear from one of the participants and how the Imagine Cup journey was for them and for him and their team. So thank you and welcome, Ben.
Thank you so much, Julia. And awesome to hear from Brian again. It's been a long time since we chat, but sounds like you're keeping up the amazing work and helping students like you did with us. So yeah, maybe we'll catch up after. But yeah, so I'll share my screen now and give you a bit of an idea of why I think the Imagine Cup is such a good thing to get into, especially whilst at university, and then amongst tons of other reasons, and then also a bit about a few tips from my end in order to try and maximize your chance of getting in and doing well in the competition. So hopefully everyone can see these slides. I'll take that as a yes. So yeah, this is my team that I entered with. So on the left's me, with a lot longer hair, as you can tell, and then on the right is my friend AJ, and in the back there is Elisa. So we were a team of three. Most Imagine Cup teams tended to be about 3 or 2, and it is sort of a great number. I think in order to have some people working on the project at all times, you can always have someone who might not have as much, university coursework, or happens to have a free afternoon to work on the project, work on the application, that sort of thing. But I'm sort of jumping ahead, so I'll talk a little bit about myself. So I go to university in the UK. You can probably tell from my accent. And so I go to Durham University. This is the picture of the cathedral in Durham on the left, which is in the northeast of England. And I'm going into my 3rd year there. So I'm studying computer science and ecology at Durham University. And I've always wanted to build technology which was useful in some way to people. Specifically, I'm really interested in technology being useful in conservation. So it was awesome to see teams like Wildeye like that. So I think their project was really up my street and something which, had I had the idea, I would have pursued myself. And yeah, so last summer I interned at a company called MedShare, which was a health tech startup, and I learned a lot about software engineering there. It's one of the sort of fastest growing London-based health tech startups, and learned a bit of machine learning, and my sort of learnings there gave me a bit of a foundation to start thinking about projects that I could build for myself. And then going into my 2nd year, which was the year which has just finished for me, I entered the Imagine Cup, which I'll go on to tell you a little bit about. So it all started for me and my friends AJ and Elisa at a hackathon with lots of, as it often does with a lot of Imagine Cup teams. And we entered the DurHack, which was the Durham University-based hackathon. And we didn't really have any ideas going in. And we're just chatting between ourselves, thinking about how we could bring in machine learning and accessibility all under the same sort of useful tool. So we started thinking about, could you use, machine learning to help you tell you if you're putting your makeup on right? We thought about that for a bit. We just wrote down a ton of ideas and ended up thinking, oh, you could, if you're doing physiotherapy or physical therapy as it's known in the US, can you have your laptop tell you if you're doing your stretches right? And at first we didn't really know if this was a big problem. So ideally you would start with the problem and you would think of how you can build a solution. But we actually went the other way around. But then thinking about this solution, we realized that by doing a bit of research, there wasn't really any sort of tool for people who had visual impairments, people who are blind or perhaps partially blind. There weren't any tools for them to do their own physiotherapy at home. So here's us at the end of the 2-day hackathon. And what we're presenting here is our web app, our machine learning web app. We used TensorFlow JS, which I think is a great tool for people who want to just get going with machine learning super easily in their browser, and which I can talk a bit more about later if anyone's interested. And then we spent a good few hours on it. We didn't get much sleep, but by the end of the hackathon, we had something we were really proud of. And what ended up happening was we came first, which we weren't expecting at all. But we heard our name, we came up, and from this, we sort of realized that our idea was something which was really useful. I'll talk a bit more about the actual practical side of building our project and how it worked later. But from that, we had heard about the Imagine Cup, not only from all of the awesome marketing that they put out there, events like this, which you're attending now, but also my brother had entered it and got somewhat far, didn't actually get as far as my team went, but I always knew it was like this is taking the hackathon setup, but bringing it to a much broader international scale, and sort of you'd be able to compete with people from everywhere in the world, and being able to present to some really cool people, not just people at your own university, but people, for example, the president of EMEA, Microsoft. So that was the main sort of driver. And so here we are. This was us jumping ahead a little bit. This was a good sort of 4 months down the line from entering the Imagine Cup. We'd been told that we got accepted. We were completely ecstatic. We weren't at all expecting to get in, but we started going with our mentoring sessions with Brian here, and this was really when we could start picturing how the Imagine Cup was going to go. And he really confirmed to us that our idea was good. He confirmed to us that that we deserved to be in this competition, that our project was something which could really help people. And that was sort of the main driver for us to really put all our energy in. We were really excited after meeting Brian. He really encouraged us to work on our presentation primarily, but also gave us really good confidence going into the project that we could make an impact with our project, not only just in the competition but outside. So I'll talk a bit more about the other benefits of mentorship later, but that was, as we went through the journey, that was a really turning point. So here we are. This was the day of presentations. We just got in. It was a very early morning for us, and we had been preparing our presentation for a good few weeks by this point. We got something down which we were quite pleased with. We got a demo for our project, which was good. It wasn't quite as good as we liked. We'd love to have had a project which was really polished, as every techie would. They'd love to have a polished product which worked seamlessly, but we had something which worked well enough. And the main bit about the demo was that you don't need something which is just gonna work all the time. It just needs to work well for when the judges are gonna see it. But anyway, what I'll talk to you a bit about what we actually built. So basically, there's 285 million visually impaired people in the world, according to WHO, and this is sort of exactly the target that we wanted to build a product for. So this is sort of the pitch that we gave to the judges. So using Azure's services, we built Vhysio, which was a machine learning integrated web app, which took in information from your webcam, passed it through a pose estimation model, and via interacting with the web app via speech to text and text to speech APIs provided by Microsoft Azure, you had this hands-free, completely accessible tool, which as you went through your physiotherapy stretches, your exercises, would tell you if you're doing them correctly, and if not, how to do them better. So this is Elisa giving it a bit of a demo here, one of my teammates. So as you can see, it tells her that her knees are too bent. It would actually say that out loud to her. So if you're visually impaired, you can imagine that you wouldn't be able to necessarily see the screen, but it would tell you to straighten your knees to achieve this back bend stretch. But yeah, we also went and got a lot of research to try and understand how we could build something which was actually useful. So the main way we did that was through Scott here. Scott's a physiotherapist himself and is visually impaired. And so by talking to him, we sort of realized that he had a lot of difficulty in doing his own physiotherapy stretches, as he had his own injury, and knew that patients who were visually impaired didn't have the ability to do their stretches with complete confidence while they're at home. So this sort of guided us and he gave us a lot of pointers in order to improve our product. This was one of the points which I think the judges liked when we did the presentation, the fact that we'd actually talked to the end user and the people who'd actually know the space and can direct us into how to build something which was actually practically going to have an impact, hopefully. So the idea was that we would provide independent, more confident recoveries with Vhysio. And what ended up happening was we came runners up with the presentation and our university kindly retweeted it. But okay, so that's a bit of an idea, a bit of a jumping around of what the Imagine Cup gave for us over those few months. So why do I think you guys would benefit from the Imagine Cup? So I think the main benefit for us was that it gave you this excuse to drill down on a project. So obviously, I'm sure a lot of you guys have ideas for projects which you want to pursue, but you don't necessarily have a deadline that you want to get reach towards. You don't necessarily have a team that is like concretely committed to building this tool, building this web app, building this piece of hardware. And what the Imagine Cup does, it says, hey, you've got to present this to this amazing set of judges, and you have to do it before a set timeline. And so what it meant was that we had this exciting thing that when we weren't working on our university projects, we would get together in the library, we'd brainstorm about how to improve the project, how to improve the accuracy of our model, how to give it more training data. And we soon realized that we weren't just building a project for a certain competition, but because of the competition, we're building something which, you know, could become a startup, could become a career. And I think, yeah, it was awesome that the competition mobilized us and just catalyzed that whole process of getting a product which solved user needs and could become, you know, potentially a company. And so another benefit is that you get to present to amazing people. You obviously get to present to people like Brian, people who work in Microsoft, the president of EMEA Microsoft. EMEA means Europe, Middle East, and Asia. I'm sure you all know that. And so that was awesome. But you also get to present with some awesome teams. And not only is it awesome to hear about their journeys, about how they built their projects, but it also gives you an idea of the landscape of how many people your age are working on awesome projects to solve real problems. And that really can inspire you to try do more and try and connect with these people in order to, you know, try and reach the ultimate goal of building something which has an impact. And so what else does it give you? It gives you some money, obviously. You get a bit of Azure credits as you're building the project. in order to try and develop something with Vhysio's, cognitive services, all that. You get sort of an education on just how many cool resources Microsoft Vhysio gives you, and that's all made possible with the credits which they allow you. And obviously, if you do well, you get some cash prize in order to, increase the scale of your company, your project, as well as the extra Vhysio credits you get. So you also get a fantastic opportunity to travel. Unfortunately, me and Julia and I should say, didn't get that opportunity because of COVID. But fingers crossed, it will end up being the case that when you guys get into the Imagine Cup, you'll be able to go to Amsterdam and connect with loads of different people, network, and try and build up a community of young technology focus practitioners who want to build some cool tech for good. And then I think the Imagine Cup does just completely take what you're building on and just accelerate it to the next level. It completely changes the course of your career. You can talk about it in job interviews, in internship interviews. It's always been something. Since doing the Imagine Cup, it's the first thing I get asked in interviews, and it's fantastic to say that from hundreds of teams you got picked to present your project, and you get to talk a bit about how you built the project, the research that you did, what technology you use, what you learned from the technology and non-technology side. As there's so much that you learn about presenting, especially when you have mentors like Brent Clark who are absolute pros at it and know how to let you describe your own story and the problem that you're trying to solve. And yeah, so that's some of the many reasons why you should enter the Imagine Cup. I'm sure you guys don't need any more reasons to enter after hearing about it from Brian as well as me. So here's a few tips for the Imagine Cup. So don't worry about having the most original, most polished product. With Vhysio, we probably did a total of, I'd say, 50 hours, if that, on the actual project over the course of a few months. And probably the main product probably got built in the first 10, 15 hours of that. The rest of it was trying to make it slightly more accurate and slightly more useful for the end user, just changing the UI, changing the language which was used, because we got directed by that man Scott to use some slightly more helpful language, for example. And then some of those hours were spent working on the pitch, doing some practices with Brian, doing some run-throughs with family, friends, and then getting it to a level which we were excited about. And then another tip which Brian always said was focus on the problem, focus on the story. So if you get into the Imagine Cup, or even when you're just sending that video submission, you want to focus on the problem and the story, and then build from there and build this sort of story arc of how your solution has come into existence because of this need for it. You didn't just want to build something because it had cool tech. Obviously, it will have cool Vhysio tech, hopefully, as well. And you really don't need to be super smart with cognitive services or any of the Vhysio stuff to start using it. You just need to have, I only had a year's programming experience before entering the hackathon that we then won, and then entering the Imagine Cup. As long as you can get your hands on a few tutorials, as long as you can write some Python, that's really all you need. And then the hardest part is just working out what problem to work on, what excites you. But I'm sure you guys already have that. You already know what problems excite you. And then the final tip would be to keep the momentum going. You might take forward the idea that you do, which you enter the Imagine Cup with. That would be awesome. You get to take that money which you earned and use it to scale up the impact of your project. But also, you'll learn a ton from the Imagine Cup, that it doesn't really matter what project you then go on to, you'll be so much better equipped in order to build something which is impactful. So yeah, you want to don't see it as just a competition, as Brian says. It's just gonna be one stepping stone in order to increase the impact that you're going to have. And it's a really nice validation to have someone say that you have the skills, you have the attributes to build something which is going to contribute in some way. So yeah, it's such a great organization, and they do it all for free in order to allow us to try get some recognition, try and increase students' passion for technology and tech for good. So there's really no reason not to do it. And I wish you all good luck with it. Yeah, happy to take any questions whenever they pop up, if they do.
If there are any... Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Consolata Gisheru from Microsoft Land Student Ambassador. Yeah, so I'd like to ask what were the most exciting parts of your journey in Imagine Cup during the competition?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, awesome question. So yeah, obviously when you find out that you get in, that's obviously a huge rush. But along the journey, getting assigned a mentor, we had Brian here, which you obviously got from my presentation, and having these weekly check-ins or however many check-ins you want is such an awesome resource, which you wouldn't necessarily get. There's not really many companies out there which allocate people to help with students outside of their organization completely. So having that resource was awesome. That was what I was most excited about when I found out we got in, other than the fact that obviously there could be a £100,000 or dollar prize at the end. But yeah, and then obviously the presentation day is really exciting. It would have been obviously a different experience had it been in Amsterdam. So I'm sure when you guys get in, that will be a huge highlight. And then just being able to, I was really excited that there was something that me and my friends could all think about and work on alongside our studies, which had some sort of external deadline, some external sort of motivation, and which meant that we could like properly see ourselves as tech founders, techie people, and we've been validated. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my highlight.
Ben, I have a question for you. What was
Awesome.
What was the process like to apply to get in to get your project into Imagine Cup from the start? What was involved with that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's I could put a bit more detail in, but yeah, I'll describe it now. So it starts off with just a form which you have to fill in, which is just going to be all about how you came up with the idea, who are the people in your team, what sort of stage in your student kind of tech careers are you. We were all just second years studying computer science and happened to be friends from our course. And then from there, you get invited to send off a video all about your project, and I can share that with you guys if that would be helpful. Or you might be able to find it publicly on YouTube if you just search Vhysio Imagine Cup. And I just recorded us talking about how we built the project. And from there, if all goes well, you move on to the stage of the in our case it would be the EMEA regional championships or final. And so yeah, really simple process, which is actually really good fun to do. And yeah, as long as it only takes you probably a couple of hours, if you just meet up with your friends who you're working on it with, and try and take some tips from potentially the presentations which you can find online about you can find the finalist presentations on YouTube, and maybe try and pick up a few things for your small video submission when you do it, because I think they would appreciate it if you're already doing a pitch which they could see being done in the actual final.
Nice. And then my follow-up question is, once you were in, what was it like trying to balance your studies, because you're still, at university, going through your semester and working on this? So I guess, could you share some insight on what that was like for the students that might be looking to get into it? Like, is it a large workload that they might not be able to balance with their schoolwork, or what's that about? What's it like?
Yeah, so definitely able to balance it. I think it does take a bit of scheduling, a bit of organization within your team, and working out who's got different areas of responsibility. So for me, it was making sure that the pitch was done, making sure that everyone knew what sections of the pitch they were going to be able to do, and also making sure everyone was around for our mentoring session. AJ, he was more focused on working on the back end of the project, the machine learning side and the Vhysio cognitive services. And then Elisa was working on the front end, the UI. So that's quite a good one, just to have your areas of responsibility. But probably we only put in, as I say, probably over the whole course of the months that lead up to the actual pitch, putting in probably a total of if you totaled up all the hours, probably about 4 days or something, or maybe not even that, 3 days, 2 days of work. So yeah, it does. Certainly with my workload, I was able to fit it in. I sort of made it a priority, and happened that it didn't align with any exams or anything like that. But yeah, probably obviously you can go even more, you can put in even more work than we did. I don't necessarily recommend that, but yeah, probably only a couple hours a week meeting up, and a few hours here and there putting some effort into the project, depending on how far down the line you are when you enter. Thanks.
Excellent.
Brian.
Thank you.
I also have another question.
Great.
Okay. Being a student, definitely after you participated in Imagine Cup, many other people came to know of you. So how do people treat you differently, or do they look at you like you're a sort of a genius in some sort of way, and how do you deal with that?
Yes, I guess this question's for me. Yeah, I think not a few people obviously saw my university tweet about my team's success getting into the Imagine Cup and becoming runner-up, like Team Wild Eye. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that people start asking you about the projects, start asking for tips about how to get into it. And it's more been younger students who heard about it actually for me, and I'm always like happy to chat to them about all the benefits, a bit like I did today. But yeah, no, they don't. No one. Only positive recognition, really. No one treats you any different. But yeah, that's been my experience. Good question.
I have a question. My name is Manasseh Mwangi, and what was the unique thing that kept you together with your team together throughout the competition?
Great question. Yeah, so I think it helped that we were all good friends before the actual competition. I think it's really fun to work on a project with your mates. You don't have to. It could just be people in your degree who you think might be good at the pitch or good at the actual working on the tech side. And yeah, just having an understanding of how much time everyone could commit to the project. I don't know what sort of the workload is at your universities, but for us, we luckily have a fair bit of time to work on extracurricular stuff like this. So yeah, just like scheduling time in before, like a week in advance, to say we're meeting up with Brian for an hour at this stage. And then a couple times one of us was a bit late, but luckily Brian wasn't too strict with us, we just sort of caught everyone up, and that was what sort of kept us together.
If I may add to that, I would say choose your teammates wisely. I have seen where people might go into the regionals with one set of teammates, and then they might have, for whatever reason, a falling out with, or somebody's not pulling their side of the project. They're not doing their work that they're supposed to do, and they're not contributing. So I would say try your best to like maybe do small projects with a few other folks, see how you all work together, and see, get a feel for your teammates that you're going to be working with before potentially just going straight into the competition with this, unless you know them already prior to that, right? And the reason I say that is because when you get on a project with people, you tend to learn how people work. What's their work ethic? Are they going to be focused on the greater good of the project, or are they going to be distracted by other things that they may have going on in their lives, which is perfectly fine and normal. But I'm just saying, if you have a goal, you want to make sure everybody is in line with that goal on the project and wanting to put your best foot forward, so to speak. And I definitely have seen where that doesn't necessarily, even within the competition, where that doesn't necessarily go as planned. So my advice is, yes, make sure, like Ben said, if you got people that you're already friends with, that's probably a great way. And the people that you've worked with before, that's a great way to start and have teammates for a project. But if you don't have that, I would say first try and get a feel for other people that might be you might consider for your team, and see how well they work with you all.
Yeah, we had the hackathon just before the Imagine Cup, which allowed us to kind of get an idea of where everyone was at in terms of how much work they wanted to put in. And that was a good sort of tester. But fully agree with. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I'd recommend trying to find friends who are as passionate about the project as you are, because it is tough if some people aren't that interested in the problem you're working on, or don't necessarily see the big pull. But I'm sure you will find a team, or already have one, which are already excited about the same stuff as you are, and excited about the Imagine Cup.
Okay, so I also have a question for you, Brian. So how far have you seen a team that you have mentored go?
So far, two teams have won that I've mentored. So the first year was Easy Glucose, which was another student named Brian. And then last year was Team Hollow, and I mentored Team Hollow from Hong Kong. And so I've seen them make it from start to finish, from regionals all the way to winning the competition, which has been quite exciting. I don't know what it is, but I guess something in the way that the teams and I kind of work together and gel well to work on getting that pitch and the presentation and their project kind of honed in and ready to go for the competition, for each part of the competition. So thank you for the question, Julia.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I had a question for Ben. I was asking, what are the challenges you faced? I don't know if the question has been asked already. And how did you get around that?
Yeah, the question, what were the challenges? Yeah. The challenges are obviously trying to, obviously no one's there to tell you to work on the project all the time whilst you're a student. Challenges are probably being self-motivated. Obviously the idea of presenting to these people at Microsoft, as well as all the other teams who are working on it, is enough motivation for me and my team to put the work in. And obviously the actual problem, if you talk to the people who are going to start using your actual project, or maybe you know them already, then that's sort of the motivation there. and then other than that, it's there's a bit of a challenge with trying to when it comes to the pitch. Some people in your team might not be quite as fluent or quite as used to be doing presentations, and obviously you want everyone to be presenting ideally. At least in our experience, we thought that was the best way. So yeah, just sort of I think a challenge was probably trying to ask your friends to perhaps practice certain bits of the presentation without sounding without sounding like you're nagging them, or trying to try and do it so in a way which isn't condescending or isn't which is only helpful for everyone. So yeah, I think if you're working with your friends, trying to turn that into a team of people who are trying to help each other out can sometimes be difficult if you're like, I found I was quite often the one who had to organize us. So trying to not sound as I'm sure you guys have had experience with, just trying to keep it enjoyable for everyone and keep it keep the broader picture in mind of you're all doing this in order to hopefully build something greater than yourselves. That would be sort of the main challenge, I think. So I'm just gonna hopefully put my laptop on charge. Maybe Brian can do another question while I'm doing that. Cool. Nice. All good. Yeah, I think maybe one. Yeah. Okay. I just thought another sort of challenge was, I think Brian caught us out a few times, was especially with me, I probably was worrying about the other teams too much. I was always asking him about, have other teams done this sort of approach? Were they, further ahead of us at this stage in the competition? And then, I think Brian was obviously extremely good at giving advice about not worrying about the other teams. You can probably phrase it better, Brian, but trying to see it as just a project which you've already reached, a level, you're already doing well, just building the project in the first place, and spotting some technology which could be useful for a problem. Don't know if Brian, you want to add to that, because you're always good at explaining.
I do recall that in our mentoring sessions with you, Ben, and I'm glad that it kind of stuck with you, because I think it just applies in general for everything in life. Is like, if we spend time focusing on other people and like comparing ourselves to each other, we're not going to make the progress that we want to make and reach the goals that we want to reach. I struggle with this personally, even in just day-to-day kind of stuff, looking at other people that work in my field and or my teammates within Microsoft, trying to remind myself, don't compare, but worry about what I need to do to reach the goals that I'm trying to strive for. And the same thing applies with the competition. It's like, don't look at it as you're really competing against other people. Look at it as you're competing with yourself and you and your teammates, yourself from yesterday, basically. Like, how are you going to make the project better? How are you going to make it more appealing? How are you going to make it more impactful and achieving the purpose of it in the first place? And that's what you really are competing with, is yourselves, and how you're going to be better than you were the day before, kind of thing. And that's something I try to, even outside of, like I was saying, outside of the competition in that regard, for myself, try to make sure I bring my mindset, my focus back on that. Because basically the other way of thinking is just very distracting. It's a kind of a defensive thing. And really we want to go on the offensive, in that we want to move forward. When we're sitting there being defensive, we're staying in the same place, worrying about other people around us, and instead of worrying about what we can do to take the steps in the right direction. So, yeah, But like, to be fair, Ben, you're not the only team that's like ever kind of, did that. I do, being that you bring it up, it reminded me of like our sessions. And I'm glad it stuck with you.
I have a question for Brian. How many teams are allocated to a mentor during the whole competition process, and like how much time do you have with the teams?
So I think so. Usually the way it works is mentors can sign up for as many teams as they want, but I don't necessarily think that is a good thing because of kind of your follow-up question, in that trying to make sure you can allocate enough time to dedicate to each team and give them your best, your best basically during those sessions, right? So I typically I try to, I think now, like ever having had the experience, like my first year, I think like one region I took on too many teams, and it was just like it was very, and if you imagine, I think it was actually the APAC region, Asia Pacific region. So like and I'm on the East Coast US, so the time difference there is pretty, just a struggle in itself trying to get scheduling done with that. And imagine having like several teams that are on that difference in time zone. And so it proved to be difficult. But I think, and so having had that experience and having on meetings now where we're thinking about what do we do with Imagine Cup moving forward, and I've been tasked with the team that I'm on to like help guide other folks that are in the same kind of role and position that I'm in, that are looking to be mentors at Imagine Cup, like what to do and the best practices, I guess, kind of. And so I think moving forward, mentors, so long as there's enough mentors that can have time to do this, would only take about 2 teams at most per region. I think that's a good amount, and at least a good balance in terms of time and being able to put your all into those sessions. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Thank you for the question. What else we got? I have a bit more time I can stay on. Or Julia, how are we doing on time overall with the schedule?
No, so I think we still have a little bit of time remaining. We also had a little bit to share concerning the community that we are about to launch. So if you could allow me, I could just briefly share my screen. So I feel like you guys have shared a lot and I shouldn't be adding anything, but just to maybe share on the community's ambitions and the goals that we have, because we decided to kind of have the Imagine Cup community at a local level in our country, to at least try and mentor as many teams as possible. So I don't know if you can see my screen yet.
We do now, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so kindly allow me to start by mentioning something about the potential sorry, that is in our country, Kenya. So Brian and Ben, kindly just allow me to mention this. It's an observation that my friends and I made. So in this year's competition, this year's Imagine Cup, we had 10 finalists for the EMEA regionals. We had 10 teams, and out of the 10 teams this year, I think it was a bit different because we had 5 winners. We had 2 that would the 2 teams that would proceed to the next level, and 3 teams that were the runners-up teams. So out of the 5, we had 3 teams from Africa, and 2 teams were from Kenya. So I'm saying this because personally I've had before, because I also competed this year. Joining the competition, I had the fear of coming from, a country that is considered maybe a third world country, and going against teams that are from much more developed countries. So I had the fear that maybe the project that we might be presenting might be of, let me use lower standards for lack of better words, but I'm trying to say this because the potential that is in the teams that registered from our country, so is just amazing. So guys, just you need to push yourself, just as Brian was mentioning about the confidence that you have in yourself and the projects that you're working on. That is exactly what you need. You don't have to consider that you're competing against other teams from other continents. So maybe to briefly introduce the team that we are working on, that we are working with for this community, the Emerging Cup community in Kenya. We have Consolata, who has been helping me host this session. She's the one who's been asking the questions. So I'm working with her. We have Felix, who's also on the call, and he's the one maintaining the community's social media. So you can find us on Twitter. We'll also be posting some information on LinkedIn and in our WhatsApp groups. We also have, as I'll mention in the next few minutes, the activities that we plan for this community. We have a team of bloggers that comprise of Charity, Mary Ann, and Lillian Patience. So these are the bloggers that we have so far, and myself, Julia. So the community's goals and their ambitions. So Brent shared perfectly of what Emerging Cup is, but we're trying to bring the whole experience locally, to a local ground. So just as Ben has also mentioned about teamwork, you need to understand the team that you're working with. We plan on having sessions, just similar sessions to the one that we've had right now. So actually what Brian was mentioning is just a pinch of what you can be getting on a weekly basis participating in Emerging Cup, because I remember we also had the weekly sessions and it was just amazing. As in, you would enter there, you would maybe join the call having some sort of fear of how you're going to do the presentation. But after talking to Brian, you'd get some sort of confidence, because you have someone who's just clarifying to you over and over that, hey, what you're doing is nice, your idea is brilliant, you work on your pitch together, and he corrects you, he maybe gives his input, and by every session you continue becoming better and better. So we're going to have more of those sessions under the community. So to cover the team fundamentals, what you need to know about working together, because having an idea actually is just one thing. Getting a team of people that are going to help you work on that idea is another thing, and maintaining the same team for a longer time and to actually achieve the end goal that you may have as you start working on the project, that is also a completely different experience all the same. So apart from that, we hope to help students in this community nurture their ideas. So it will all start as an idea in your head. Maybe you're just walking somewhere and you just get an idea. Then you will probably just walk you through turning it into a project. And then the end goal, and I think Ben has mentioned this, also for my team, we didn't just join the competition with the aim of competing and just trying to get the prizes. We have a goal. We're trying to also get into a business. So we'd also we'll be getting, how do I call them? We'll be getting professionals, maybe in the business analysts, because there's more to a project than writing code. So you need to analyze the business aspect of the project. So that is just what we plan to do in this community. We plan to have that journey and walk that journey with all the students that are registered in this community. Then I'll leave the Emerging Cup Junior to my colleague Consolata, who's going to share a little bit on that. Then on the project reviews, just as Brian's role was in Emerging Cup to try and mentor the teams, we're also going to try and have judges who have been judges in maybe previous hackathons. We'll try and have them review your projects before you maybe submit them, so that they can help you in fine-tuning maybe the presentation, if it's identifying what problem exactly you're solving. So the project reviews, these are just some of the activities that we also plan to have. And then on the mentorship, so the mentors, Microsoft actually allocates mentors to teams that are in the second and the third round. But for the round one, the online round, I don't think the teams get mentors. So for the community that we are launching today, we have the Student Ambassadors Program, and we have a team of amazing individuals who are ambitious about helping other students. And we actually have several that have already volunteered to be mentors. So with volunteering, I'm sure you understand that it's not like they want to be part of your team to share the prizes. They just want to be there to give the general guidance, because actually most of them have a lot of experience. Like you're going to see, just to give an example, we have Josh. So most of you know Josh, who is a good student ambassador from Kenya. He has a lot of achievements. This year we had the Game of Learners, the Microsoft ADC Game of Learners, and his team, he was the team lead of the winning team, Team Brandy. He has also participated in most hackathons, as you can see on this slide. He was also a participant in Emerging Cup this year. We also have Sandra Mckenna, who was also part of the winning team in the Microsoft ADC Game of Learners program this year, and she's also a student ambassador who has volunteered to mentor the teams that would wish to participate in Emerging Cup. We have Harun, who's actually a mentor. He trains young developers. So actually this list is not exhaustive. We have a lot of student ambassadors who are more than willing. So the only thing that we require for this community to actually have an impact and to work, we'll need students who would wish to participate. So you'll just come to us, and would maybe just plan and have a mentor allocated to your team at the first round. And from the experience that they have, I'm sure, like for instance, from the experience that we've had from Ben, I'm sure that Ben wouldn't mind offering the same help that he got from Bran. I'm sure he would be thrilled to actually pass it on to another team. So that is like what we hope to achieve. So some of the community activities that we have planned out for you, as I mentioned, we have a team of bloggers. So in case you delight in writing blogs, you could reach out to Miriam Sadimba. If you're on the call, you could share your contact details. So we will be releasing blogs after every two weeks. So the aim of the blog simply is to just amplify more about Emerging Cup and to also help in amplifying your projects. So if you have a project and maybe you submitted for the online round in the Emerging Cup, and as it was mentioned, we have hundreds of submissions. So if maybe your submission doesn't go through, it doesn't mean it's the end of your project. You can also share, and we can also share widely on your project from the blogs that we release. Then we'll also have sessions with Emerging Cup participants. So we'll try as much as possible to get the teams that participated, just as we've had Team Vhysio today. We'll have more and more teams share the experience, and I'm sure from the experiences we can learn more. So yeah, the events will be on a monthly basis. And as part of maybe the interactive sessions that we hope to get with students, we could work on open source projects together. And of course, we'll have mini hackathons to try and just perfect our skills in presentations, coming up with projects and technological solutions. So as I wind up, I could maybe mention about the code of conduct that we're using. So if you visit the Emerging Cup site, official site, they have their code of conduct there. But if you're on our team, on Teams, if you're in this communities channel, on the files tab, we have the code of conduct there. So you can just briefly just scan through it so that you can know what is required of you. And then you could also feel free to follow us on Twitter. We are the Microsoft Emerging Cup Community Kenya. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's all I will share for now. We'll invite Consolata to talk about Emerging Cup Junior. Thank you.
May I just say a couple things really quick, Julia?
Yeah, sure thing.
I think it's fantastic that you mentioned the representation of how many teams from Africa were part of the competition last year. And I really want to emphasize that too, that like, I know you're seeing like a white guy kind of telling you about the competition, but it really, I don't want anybody to count themselves out before even getting started. I hope that it sounds like, at least, Julia, once we got into our mentoring sessions, you and team felt more comfortable about the prospects of being part of the competition and all that. And I hope any other teams that you're even considering entering feel that way. Don't feel like you're behind just because of where you're coming from. Everyone is judged, equally based on a set of criteria for the project-based thing. And it's not a matter of like what resources you have available to you, if that gives you an extra boost on in terms of like points or judging, that kind of thing. It's very much based on your project and how you present. The other thing I want to emphasize too is that if English is not like your native language that you speak and you're worried about presenting with that, please don't feel like that is something that will hold you back as part of this. In fact, what I'm working on as we're in these meetings getting ready for the next next Imagine Cup is trying to figure out ways to explore allowing people to speak in their native languages potentially, and then having that maybe translated for judges that are, speak English or something like that, so that people will feel more comfortable in presenting because they're speaking in their native language. So there's some things potentially in the works to help with that. But even if that doesn't become the case, and we are kind of still requiring that everybody presents in English, please know that that's not going to be it's not something that counts against you just because English is not your native language speaking to. So I just want to emphasize that as someone been part of this from Microsoft, so that you all, feel a little bit more, I guess, less about, I don't know, you're not worried about entering the competition or having these things count against you. Okay. Sorry for the interruption, but thank you, Julia, for the moment to add that.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I actually think it's really nice that you mentioned it, and we look forward to having as many teams as possible participating in the coming years of Imagine Cup. So I'll hand over back to Consolata.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'll be taking you through Imagine Cup Junior. I hope you can all view my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, it's a bit okay. Yeah, so basically, Imagine Cup Junior is aimed at empowering the young students aged between 13 to 18 years, whereby they get an opportunity to learn about technology and how they can use it to positively change the world, despite of their background in the technological field. So this competition is open to schools, and instructor is restricted to schools and instructor-led clubs, whereby the instructor is charged with the responsibility to register the team, which also has a limit of 1 to 6 students. So in the recently concluded Imagine Cup competition, we had, the theme was AI for Good, or Microsoft AI for Good, whereby the students went through from February to June, whereby they engaged with learning materials which are provided by Microsoft, and they got a chance to learn and create using artificial intelligence and Azure's scripting, and with also the help of Azure technologies, whereby they are able to create projects and showcase the understanding of the ethical use of artificial intelligence. So these are some of the teams that emerged top of the competition. So that in the top column we have, those are the teams from Asia region. Then in the middle column we have the America region, whereby we had Wonder Guardian, Team Abby, and Aegis Emotes. And from our region, that is East EMEA, we had Retromates and Langpal and Memoria AI. So I'll just take you briefly through the top proposed projects from these young students. So we had team 7 from Raffles Institution in Singapore. They came up with an app that uses facial and gesture recognition to provide means of communication for people who can't speak. So as I also had with the team Ben Harris, or the team from Ben Harris, they also created an application to help those people who have impaired visibility. So I guess this is something which we can really take up as a challenge, because let's say if the young students, that is 13 to 18 years old, are able to come up with such ideas, we can also take it as a challenge and also build up on more and more. We also had the Aegis Emote from James E. Taylor High School in Texas. They came up with an app to recognize and prevent emotional volatility. This is using AI to detect physical cues and providing intervention. We also had Langpal from Dubai. They came up with an application to support the early detection of lung diseases using neural networks to classify the breathing confidence values. It was also designed to reduce the pressure on hospitals during the current pandemic, as the competition happened during as the COVID pandemic had already come. So all the top 3 submissions in each region get a trophy and Windows 10 devices for the team, and also group mentoring with mentors from Microsoft, which I guess it's a really, really great opportunity for the young students, because I don't think most of the people in our country specifically can think that young people from high school can really participate in such competitions and also win great prizes. Especially, I know they may benefit most because of the mentoring, because they get such amazing skills which maybe most of us don't have till today. So that's basically it about the Imagine Cup Junior. We'll be discussing this at length when we have an event specifically for the junior competition. So I hope we'll have a great audience, and maybe we could also reach out to our younger siblings and people in our community or in our areas and tell them more about Imagine Cup Junior and how they can leverage the opportunity to advance their knowledge in technology. That's my brief presentation. Anyone with a question, please just air the question.
Okay, so maybe I could share something. It's really not a question, just a comment, sort of. So I would really request, if you have friends that would like to participate in the Imagine Cup and maybe they were not able to attend the session, you could just ask them to reach out to the community. We could even use Twitter, and we'll be more than happy, and we're just so willing to help them out in registering for the competition. And as you can see, we have people who are already excited to be mentors and help them out. So yeah, I think that is what I would share for now. Thank you all so much for joining in on the call. It was really nice to have you all here.
Thanks so much, Julia. Thanks everybody. Cheers, Brian. Great to see you again.
Same here. Yes, thank you for having us, Julia, and putting this together. Looking forward to seeing more from this group.
Okay, do we have anyone with any questions, comments before we end the session? Nothing.
Julia, if anyone does end up wanting to contact me at all, if potentially if they get in and want to have a longer chat, maybe you're able to share my Twitter. I don't think I can put anything in the chat here because I'm not a team member, but maybe you're able to share that.
Yeah, sure. Let me just share that right now. So maybe Brian, any parting shot. So maybe in any final remarks from you, Brian, to everyone on the call.
Final remark. Now I feel like I have to have like some really good quote to share. I just wish you all the best. Good luck with learning about how you can enter the competition, coming up with a project, and just pursue those dreams that you have. See how you can have a positive impact on your communities and follow through with it. So I look forward to hearing from more people, connecting with the folks part of this group, this community here, and don't be afraid to reach out, like Ben said too. And that's awesome, Ben, that you're offering that. You can reach out to me if you'd like directly on whatever social media platform works best for you all. Or Julia, if you want me to join up again on another time, just message me again.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think that's all from me. Maybe Consolata, you could finish off the event for us. Thank you once again for joining.
There's a question that we missed from the form. It's directed to Ben Harris. How has the competition impacted your life as a person?
Right. So it's obviously been really useful to write down on my CV on Twitter and LinkedIn to say that I've been part of this competition, which not everyone gets to go and compete in, and that I've built something which uses machine learning, which has improved my coding skills. So it's been, I'm sure it's helped get my internship that I did this summer, and then also it's just connected me to so many people within the tech for good space, and I'm sure if potentially even more so if the traveling went ahead, but even without that, I was able to connect with mentors like Brian, as well as sort of really have something which I can look back on and be really proud of, that I worked on with my friends whilst at university, and put a lot of effort and time into it, which no one said that I had to do, but that I'm really proud that I did with my friends, and yeah, just hopefully a stepping stone to hopefully. So it was like the first big thing for me, which sort of I think which got some sort of eyes on kind of the work that I was doing. So yeah, it's not obviously it's not about just people seeing you do the stuff. It's more about the actual work. But yeah, it's awesome to feel like you're part of a community, and a stepping stone onto sort of hopefully bigger things. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I hope the person who asked the question has been answered fully. So I don't think we have anything else for us today. So we hope to get more.
Can I ask you a question, actually?
Just go ahead.
Okay. My name is Victor. I'm sorry, I joined in very late. I wanted to clarify a few things about the competition or the whole application process. I wanted to be sure if someone that has an individual project that he or she has actually started working on could actually apply. Like when I mean an individual project, just single-handedly, just me. I don't really have, if one doesn't really have a team of 3 to 4 people at least, I don't know, is it a criteria for the application that you must have a set of team members?
No, you don't have to have. You can just be a single person team. In fact, I've seen 2 years ago, Easy Glucose is a single person team that won the competition. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other question that we may have left that anyone would like to ask?
My name is David. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing today. It's really a good motivation for people who are doing their projects, and I say thank you. I've been really motivated to work on my ongoing projects. And thank you so much.
Great, that's awesome to hear.
If there is no other question or comment, maybe we could just end the session. Thank you very much to Brian and to Ben. Thank you so much for being our guest in this session. We've learned quite a lot than we expected to learn. Yeah, so thank you very much. We hope to engage you more in the following the coming up activities in the community. Yeah, thank you also to everyone who has attended, and I hope you have learned a lot as we have here. So I don't if there's anyone, so I'll just say bye. So bye guys.
Okay.
Thank
you so much.
Okay.
Goodbye.